Okay guys, so let's talk about the most slept on, ignored, and one of the most rarely seen game mechanics in gaming. Which I don't know why, with every game nowadays being a supposed Souls-like, you would think there would be more of this mechanic. The chained counterattack, or the chained parry. Some people some some nerds like to get super anal about what parry or counterattack means. That doesn't matter in video games because it's just button inputs. Okay, that distinction only matters in real life because you have to strengthen your arm, make it stiff, properly block an attack, parry, and riposte the attack. But that doesn't matter in video games because you just either make one button input and then another button input, and there you go, you countered. So I don't want to hear any nerds obsessing about what is a parry and what isn't a parry. Okay, so here we have Onimusha 2. I'm only including the second Onimusha, even though all the Onimusha games have counterattacks. Well, except the first one, which you cannot chain your counterattacks. Only Onimusha 2, 3, and Dawn of Dreams allow you to chain your counterattacks. Look at here, look at Jubei, just bam, 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 bam. I mean, I'm using the black orb here, but bam, bam, you just counter, 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 and I'm on Gogan Dantis's ass right now. That's this enemy's name. He's a boss called Gogan Dantes. The character is called Jubei Yagu, and I'm just chasing him, just parrying, 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 parrying nonstop. Not parrying, just counterattacking. See, there I go again, making the distinction. Again, it doesn't matter. These are video games, okay? We're not Olympic athletes. So look at how it's nearly instantaneous, and he like zooms, right? He like chases after the enemy like a dash attack. Bam, bam, in the flash of light. Onimusha, out of all the games I'm going to showcase today, has the best counterattack system for me of any game. And I want to say something else. If you guys know of any other games that have a mechanic like this, like a counterattack that's like a dash like this, like the zoomies, if you guys know of any games like this, please leave them in the comment section below. I would love to play more of these games. I would love to play more. This is called an isen. In Onimusha, this specific kind of attack is called an isen, which in Japanese that means a precise strike. First off, you're invincible when you're doing this attack in Onimusha, and in the other two games that I'll be showcasing here as well, you're also invincible when you do the counterattack. And the most important part is not just that you do a single counterattack like in Dark Souls, or you just plop, counter, parry, counter, and it's just like you only get to damage the enemy once. Here you can chain it. So, and you have to time it correctly. Each dash attack that you see him doing is a perfect timing of the attack button. You have to. Oh, it's gonna start raining now, and it's gonna ruin my audio. Wonderful. Okay, so there you go. Bam, 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 bam. You gotta get it perfect each time. There, I killed 3 enemies in one go right there. So what this allows you to do is to just keep pressuring the enemy over and over. And if you time correctly, like 6 or 7 of these counterattacks, you can kill a boss in one go in a single phase, which is genius. I don't know why more games don't do this. This is my favorite. The only thing that I like as much as chain counters is headshots in first person shooters. That's it. And honestly, I feel like I like the chain counter even more because it's like multiple headshots in a row. It's beautiful. I can't get enough of it. I want more. One of the games that I thought of including in this video I'm making was Assassin's Creed Brotherhood because it does have chain counters and they're one hit kills, but you can't dash. You don't zoom all over the place like you do here in Onimusha or in the next game that I'm going to show you. Ezio, he's kind of he moves, but he's like kind of stationary, just pretty passive. So I just decided not to include Assassin's Creed. Even in Assassin's Creed 1, you can one hit kill every enemy if you counterattack them using the hidden blade. And that's a little detail that I haven't seen. I know speedrunners know it and hardcore gamers know it, but not a lot of people know that. Moving on to the next game, let's see here. This game here, it's called Unsouled. It's supposed to be one of these it's sort of like a Souls-like slash Devil May Cry if it were 2D. Or like, I don't know if this is 8 bits or 16 bits, but it's 2D. And this little banger here, it's a gem. It is a gem. This is not visually, but as far as action and fighting goes, this is the closest game to Onimusha there is right now on the market. You can chain counterattack. Uh, you can absorb souls just like in Onimusha, and the reason why I say that is because us Capcom fans, we love Devil May Cry, but you can use the Royal's Guard in Devil May Cry, and you can one-shot enemies, but you can't chain it like the Isen in Capcom. Some people don't know this, but Onimusha 1 and Devil May Cry 1 came out in the same year in 2001, and a lot of the base mechanics from Onimusha come from Resident Evil, and then the base mechanics for Devil May Cry come from Onimusha. So it's all one big cycle, you know. And you can't chain your Royal Guard in Devil May Cry. So this is why we want a new Onimusha game so badly, and we don't have that yet. But what we do have is this little game right here called Unsouled. So I'm gonna say the name again. It's called Unsouled. Unsouled, right? Sold, like you're not sold as in selling, but like the word soul in past tense, like the word spirit, soul in past tense, unsold. I keep having to say that because the mic. I don't have the best microphone, and it's there's some sounds it doesn't pick up, and I've done everything in the settings to make this mic work as good as possible, but you get what you pay for, and I can't afford a better mic right now. So Unsouled is an action RPG made by the developer called Me Gusta Game, published by NeoWiz Genres. Me Gusta Game sounds like a team, but apparently it's just one developer. This game was made by one single guy, and I was just at the website of megustagames.com, and he says that, right, it's a solo developer that made this game inspired on Onimusha 2. So it's right on the website. It says that this game is a love letter to Onimusha 2, which explains why I love it so much. And I have a friend that's he's in the Onimusha Discord. I'm trying to avoid social media, so I just have a friend that tells me about these things, and I'm gonna tell him to let them know that this game is inspired by Onimusha 2, and that since Capcom doesn't wanna, since Capcom is just leaving us hanging, waiting forever and ever, because Dawn of Dreams, which was the last Onimusha game, came out in 2006. So, since Capcom wants to keep us waiting, we'll just give our money to Me Gusta Games, and he can make a sequel of Unsouled, and we can just invest in that, and that we can have our Isen, our chain Isen, we can have it that way. Our chain counterattacks, we can get our fix this way, because honestly, Capcom is letting us down. They did this Netflix Onimusha thing, the series that they put on Netflix. That doesn't mean, maybe it means they have an idea of what the future game might be, but that doesn't mean that they're currently working on a future Onimusha title. So we might as well go with Me Gusta Games because I loved this game. I loved parrying in Unsouled. Look, this is a boss battle. This thing we're looking at right now, this fire element enemy, and she throws the fire, and you can parry the projectile, which you can also do in Onimusha. It's just projectile parrying is a little easier in Unsouled. I will say that the regular counterattack in Unsouled is harder. Is It's more difficult than in Onimusha. But whatever, that just means it's more satisfying when you do manage to counterattack an enemy. It's all the more rewarding. I was thinking of including Street Fighter Third Strike in this list because the Evo moment. I forgot the number, but the Evo moment with Daigo Umehara is just so epic, and it's him just parrying a bunch of attacks in a row, and it's just so hype. But I didn't include it because I wanted to be single player games, and also it's a parry, it's not a chain counterattack like here you can damage the enemy multiple times. Dude, seriously, I can't get over the fact that Unsouled is inspired by Onimusha too. Like, what are the odds? And I made this. I researched that while I was making this video a week ago when I first got the idea of making this video. I had no idea that it was inspired. And the clip that I showed before this one just so happens to be Onimusha 2, not Onimusha 3. What I like more about Onimusha 2 is that when you play on easy mode, on the easiest difficulty, it's easier to pull off the counterattack. It's still just as easy in Onimusha 3, but Onimusha 3 has like a little mechanic that once you do like 10 E-sends, once you do like 10 chain counterattacks, it like the timing gets a little bit more strict, just as like a way for the game to like stop you from going on like a frenzy. Onimusha 2 doesn't have that cap. Onimusha 2, if you're playing on easy mode, if there's 30 enemies, as soon as you initiate the first Isen, you can do 29 more Isens, and you can Isen 30 enemies. That's what you'll see me here in Unsouled. The clip is coming right now. Here, I'm gonna do like a 19 chain counter. It's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 19. It's supposed to be 31 because now I'm gonna do 12 more counters. But in Onimusha 2, like in theory, and in practice as well, if you want to do like 30 Esens, you can. There's nothing stopping you. I also thought, should I include Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? But again, you can only parry, even though it's awesome when you do a bunch of parries in Smash. But again, you can't chain counter. And it makes perfect sense because if you could chain counter in a game like Smash Brothers, you would basically end a match like almost instantly, and so that's not competitive at all. So it takes away everything that Smash is supposed to be. Multiplayer PvP games, fighting PvP games can only have parry and maybe a counter. You can never have like a chain counter because it's just too overpowered. It only makes sense for single player games. Okay, so the next game coming up, it hasn't shown up yet in the clip, but I have to start talking about it right now because this is the last part of the Unsouled. The next game that you're gonna see is called Katana Kami, A Way of the Samurai Story. And it is the most recent installment of the Way of the Samurai series that started in the early 2000s. I think Katana Kami came out in 2015, and the reason why it's on this list, every Way of the Samurai game has a parry. and I think they have counters except for the first one. But from Way of the Samurai 2 and onwards, they have parry and counters. Katana Kami is the first Way of the Samurai game that has chain counterattacks, and that's why I'm including it on this list. I saved it for last because it's the jankiest game on this list. It is, and it's this isn't me hating on the game. It's just that sometimes you'll press block and it won't register. The dodging, it always registers the dodging, but the block, sometimes it won't register if you're moving too much. It's weird. And the other thing is that you can only chain counter if you manage to kill an enemy. If an enemy survives your counterattack, the chain is broken. The chain can only continue if you eliminate an enemy with the counterattack. Only then can you continue chaining your counterattacks. And since it would be cool if you could just chain counter multiple times a boss enemy, because this is a rogue like or rogue light game, and there's bosses at the end of stages, and it would just be so awesome if you could just chain counter, counter over and over the boss enemy, but you cannot. That is one thing that I dislike about Katana Kami. Other than that, I do enjoy Katana Kami a lot. It is a game where you collect swords and items, and that's not a bad thing. Collecting items is not a bad thing, but it's a way to, like, I don't know, like, give you something to do that isn't combat, and I would rather just focus on the combat rather than just artificially inflate certain things so we can all pretend we have something to do. No, just polish the combat more, make it more polished, and then make the game all about that, or like mostly about that, and then you have like a superior game. You know, maybe a game that everyone would have expected to be included in a parry or counter list would have been Sekiro. But in Sekiro, you have to do like a million parries, and then once his posture is broken, then you can damage the enemy. And you can't chain counter. It's not like you break one enemy's posture and then you start attacking him, and then you can chain that onto the next enemy. That would be awesome. That would be amazing, but Sekiro doesn't have that, therefore Sekiro does not make it into this list. And again, guys, even say you guys know of a game that doesn't have chain counterattacks, but it does have like an awesome parry system, just leave it in the comment below anyways. I would just like to play more games that have sound mechanics, sound and consistent mechanics. Obviously, I would prefer if the game that you recommend has chain counterattacking, where you can chain counterattacks. But you know, it doesn't. Look at this new game, Stellar Blade. The parry and counter there looks awesome. Also, the new Final Fantasy 16, it kind of plays like a Devil May Cry, so that's a pretty awesome game too. So just the point is to have like a hub. You know, I want this video to be like the start of some kind of mecca for chain parry games or counterattack games. Another thing that's in this game, Katana Kami, if you lock on to an enemy, the other enemies attack you less, and then the enemy you're locked onto, he will attack you more. And that is neither good or bad. It's just something you can take advantage of. Or sometimes it will work against you instead of working in your favor. You just have to get used to it. Another thing about Katana Kami, the enemies attack very suddenly, like very suddenly, and the enemies go from standing and you're just waiting for them to attack. They go from that to like instantly attacking you, so you like have to be on the edge of your seat like a lot when you play Katana Kami. So that's something you have to watch out for. So guys, thanks for watching the video. I might make a Patreon or something. I need better equipment. I need a better microphone. I'm just learning how to edit videos just now. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. So sorry if it's like low quality in the video or low quality in the audio. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.